I read the script first, and I did not realize it was a true story. And I'm a huge baseball fan, which surprised me, honestly. So I did a little Googling and realized that it is, in fact, based on a true story. And that made the whole story for me of the film so much richer and so much more interesting. And so when I kind of got down that Google hole of finding all of these interesting things about how this came about and why this came about, and what it meant to not only these two guys but to a whole culture. The resonance of the story just got so much deeper for me, and as a baseball fan and as a fan of sort of inspirational stories, it was just lovely. I got to meet the actual JB. He's an incredibly hardworking, interesting, intelligent gentleman. And the stories that we tell in the film honestly changed his life. And that's part of the story we try to tell of sort of how, working hard and trying to achieve this thing, that your dream, so to speak, can change your life for the better. The character I play, J.B. Bernstein, is based on the actual human being named J.B. Bernstein, who is a sports agent. And there's when you say agent to people, not oftentimes the positive things don't necessarily spring to mind. But he's a very interesting and intelligent thinker and human being, and represents a lot of important sports clients in the world. People that would be very recognizable: Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith and Barry Bonds, and a lot of people. But he kind of came up with the quote-unquote $1 million idea of going to India and adapting cricket players, because the entire nation of India is cricket crazy, and trying to adapt that into a baseball, the throwing motion being very similar, trying to adapt that into a baseball player. And it was something that people, I guess, thought was impossible, or could never be done, or why would you even do it? And what I found interesting was that JB, as a person, heard that's impossible, it will never happen, you can't do it. He didn't hear the never and impossible and don't part of it. He just heard it as a challenge, and basically rose to that challenge. And it's been a tremendously successful partnership, not only with the United States and India and baseball and cricket, but with Major League Baseball, and really opened a lot of people's eyes to a sport that I care very deeply about, and a lot of Americans do, but a new experience. JB starts in a place where he's very much concerned with work and that part of his life, and success and appearance and money and all of those things that we as Americans tend to worry about a lot. And throughout the course of the film, he experiences having to take care of other people, having people depend on him, disappointing people, and learning from that how to then turn it around and be dependable and be a person that can be responsible for other people in their lives, and to give of himself without expectation of return. They're completely fish out of water in the United States. They barely speak English. They've never, been in Los Angeles, much less, the crazily modern society that we live in. And it's a mind-blowing experience for them. And again, really happened. And he's looking at these kids more of as a commodity rather than as these two young men, very, very young men that they are. And Brenda opens his eyes to that, to the reality of that, of being responsible for two other human beings. And I think that her caring enough to make him feel that is what inevitably draws him to her and makes him realize that he cares about her as well. It's easy to feel like a fish out of water in India. It's a fantastic, it's a exotic, it's a beautiful place, but it is very different from the United States in many, many ways. Most notably, there are a lot more people and a lot more cars and a lot more everything. Sights and smells and sounds and buildings everything. It's just a complete overload. And going there for the first time, I had never been there in my life either, was a sensory overload. And I think that was probably JB's experience as well, which is amazing now because you see him there now and he speaks marginally good Hindi, and he can kind of move through this Byzantine society incredibly well. But it's an overload, and it's familiar enough to where you feel like you're comfortable, and yet everything is sideways rapidly. So it was fun trying to navigate that for the 4 weeks or so that we were there.